Alright, so I'm Kris Julian. I went to Mound High School and I graduated in 1999. I ran cross country 8th through 12th grade, and that's actually how I met Pastor Jeremy way back before he was a pastor. Went to Winona State University, and then from there I've worked at a few different high schools as a language arts teacher. I always had, I think, a tremendous capacity for faith in my life, but I wasn't putting my faith where it was supposed to go. There was a lot of despair and a lot of really dark times where I really doubted myself and my purpose. I was apprehensive about going to church because I didn't want to feel like a hypocrite, like to myself, because I'd spent all those years just kind of doing it my own way. My whole life, even as a little kid, I was always very worried about, something happening to my parents, because I always loved my family very much. And I think I almost had kind of like an unnatural fear or anxiety of something bad happening to my dad in particular. And I think one of the reasons why I was worried about him is because he was a carpenter and he had kind of a dangerous job, and he worked construction, and he'd be up on roofs in November when it was icy, and he rode a motorcycle, and I just remember being a little kid and praying, like, please don't let anything happen to my dad. It was a snowstorm in February that the phone call came, and it was my mom at the hospital, and she said, it looks like your dad has cancer. And then going there and seeing him and waiting for the results and waiting for the diagnosis, having your mind race a million miles an hour. But something came over me in the midst of all that, a calmness. I didn't feel afraid, and I didn't feel alone, and I know that I don't have that much strength in me, and I know it didn't come from me. I know that God was there, and I could feel him there. I don't think there's any person on this earth that could have taken the despair, the fear, the panic, the terror out of me, that came from God. And even in your darkest hour, maybe in your darkest hour, that's when God shows himself. My dad, who was my hero, my whole life, the strongest man I knew, I just told him that he was the best, and I thanked him for everything, and I said, I'm sorry for any time I ever disappointed you, and he just looked at me and he said, you've been the best. He said, you're the best. And, he said, I did my best, now you do it too. The reason why I wanted to be baptized, I just felt ready to say to myself and to my family and to my community and to the world that I'm a Christian. It's also, God's way of saying, there's Kris, this is my son. And that was really to a guy that just lost his father. It was really powerful. It really hit home to me that I didn't lose my father. I didn't lose anything. All I was strengthened. And I'm happy to be God's son. Pastor Jeremy was telling me that there's the church triumphant, where there's a great cloud of witnesses, and my dad's one of the witnesses, and I know that he's looking down on me, right? I've got this life. I need to do my best because there is a purpose. The other day I was getting ready to come to church at Main Street. I didn't want to be late, but at the last minute I realized that I couldn't find my car keys. And I looked in the driveway, and I looked in the kitchen, and I looked in my room, and I looked in the hallway, I looked in the car, and I remembered that I had given my dad a spare key to that car, and he had left it up in my room, my old room. So I walked up to where I knew the key would be, and there was the key, and on the keychain was a note that said, "Jesus said, I'm with you always." And so I grabbed the key to my car, turned it on, drove to church, and I, kind of chuckled because there was Jesus again. I mean, there was God, there was my dad, there was Jesus, and they were all with me. I wasn't alone, and they got me to church on time.